Welcome to this week's segment of the Ripoff of the Week. My name is Adam Anchievsky, and I'm the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. And we're going to talk about a great topic this week. It is the talk of the Beltway, and that is the $1.9 trillion quote-unquote coronavirus relief bailout bill that House Democrats posited last Friday. And our auditors, we've been hard at work. We've been actually reading the bill, which is somewhat unique for those that are supposed to represent us. Before I get into this week's segment, I just want to review our mission at OpenTheBooks.com. Simply summarized, it's every dime online in real time. We captured $6 trillion in 2020, and that's the most in American history. All right, I want to get right to this week's segment of the Ripoff of the Week. I want to introduce my co-host, Tamara Colbert.
Good evening, Adam. Thank you so much. This is actually one of our biggest segments, and it draws the most comments and the most shares of anything that we do, because when Washington is spending our money in this way, it really does excite the people. What is the purpose of this legislation? This is called the American Rescue Plan Act. How many pages? The real money, 1.9 trillion, is that right?
So it's 591 pages, $1.9 trillion. And the purpose of the bill is for COVID relief. It's to help bail out those people who have real needs. And I think the American people would be on board for something that was targeted, that helped people that are suffering from this global pandemic, that have real needs. But as what you're going to hear here tonight is that's not what this bill does. This is a bloated pork barrel wish list of progressive programs.
Boy, that's a mouthful there. Is there any actual targeted COVID relief in this package?
Yes, there is. In the Wall Street Journal, they felt that if you were very generous with the numbers, you get to about $825 billion worth of targeted relief. Some of the things that we found that were actually targeted toward COVID-19 relief in the bill that can generously encompass the payments about $500 billion to individuals across the country, $75 billion of cash for vaccines, $26 billion to restaurants who have been hit very hard in this pandemic, $15 billion to help with airline payrolls. Another $7 billion would go to our nation's small businesses and entrepreneurs on Main Street. So that is the targeted relief in the bill.
So how much pork then, or unrelated, if you will, spending is in the $1.9 trillion?
The rest of it, so over $1 trillion, really is unnecessary. It's not related to a targeted bill that would serve people in pain that have real needs. And this is where we get into the wish list right off the bat. Totally unrelated. $15 minimum wage. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, they did the study. They said that measure alone will cost 1.4 million jobs in this country. During a pandemic, during a time of recession and economic crisis, the last thing we need is to cost the American economy 1.4 million jobs.
So, Adam, there are billion-dollar ticket items in this package, and there are million-dollar relief items. Let's start with the billion and go with what are the craziest of the billions and work your way on down.
So the craziest of the billions has to be the aid toward K through 12 education. So the Congressional Budget Office, they did the study. They said none of it is going to be spent this year in 2021. It's going to be spent between 2022 and 2028.
Unbelievable.
The White House also admitted through their spokesman that that's true. This is not going to 2021 COVID aid. It's going out into the future. Look, K through 12 schools, they already got $70 billion worth of aid on the COVID packages from 2020. They haven't even spent all that. But now, Democrats are going to throw $128 billion at these schools? Give me a break.
And wait a second. And probably close to half the country's schools are not even in session. The teachers are refusing to go back into the classroom. I mean, this is complete insanity and sounds, again, pork barrel projects, they're just lining the pockets of their friends. What
Well,
about
it's
some of the other?
camera. It's
Yeah.
even worse than that. So tucked on page 305, we broke national news. Our investigation at Forbes has over 200,000 views. Even the Associated Press picked up this story after we broke it, although the Associated Press did not cite us on the research. We found there is a new perk for federal bureaucrats tucked in this bill. It's expensive. It's $570 million, over $500 million. It creates a new fund at the Treasury Department for paid time off for federal workers if their child is in a school that's not back full time. So if your child is hybrid, in the classroom a little bit, virtual a little bit, you can file for $1,400, not $1,400 that individuals would get one time in this bill on a payment, but $1,400 a week for 15 weeks. You can clear off 21 grand if your school's not open full time. That's an outrage.
No, this is absolutely an outrage. I'm just flabbergasted by this because my heart goes out to the millions of moms and dads who have been struggling now for just almost a year to figure out who's staying home, who's doing what to manage the family and the kids in school and online education and all of this. I mean, this is really a backstab in the back of working moms and dads and taxpayers in America. It's so outrageous. What can be done about this, Adam? I mean, here we are again every week, another ripoff of the week. This seems like a pretty big one to me.
So people need to raise their voice. Come to our website. We've got the petition to read the bill. Look, this bill is changing every minute, every hour. It's going to be voted on probably tomorrow or the next day in the House. And again, nobody knows really what's in the 600 pages. We've dug into this thing, our team of auditors, for 5 days. We need a 72-hour timeout to simply read the bill, to take a pause, to tear it apart, and hopefully develop the strategies to carve out some of this pork.
Adam, Open the Books auditors have been working overtime to make this happen. Right now, we've got massive engagement. Just again, people saying, what else is in it?
Okay.
Are we bailing out the states? There's a question right now. Does this include a state bailout?
$350 billion goes to bail out the states. And here's the trick thrown into the bill. The allocation to the states is not done on population. It's done on the fourth quarter average unemployment. So this is a subsidy to all those blue states like California, which ranks 49 out of 50 states on the highest unemployment rate. New York, who's 46th in the country and the highest unemployment rate. These states now in this bill, they'll get a greater allocation of our tax dollars because they mismanaged their economies. Florida, who ranks 26th on unemployment during that period, will subsidize California and New York. Governor Ron DeSantis kept the economy rolling in the state of Florida. Florida is flourishing, and they're going to be penalized by House Democrats on the allocation of this blue state bailout.
Somebody just made a comment of essentially these are fiscal terrorists, that what's happening here to take our money like this. So what can truly be done? We want people to sign the petition because that's going to go to their legislator. That is going to go to their U.S. representative, U.S. senators from their state. What more can we do? We need more investigations exactly like this. What are your last thoughts?
So I want to walk through some of these. I really want your blood boiling so you take action.
Yes.
Go to openthebooks.com, sign the petition to read the bill, call your member of Congress. Look, we're pro-life. However, maybe you're not, you're pro-choice, but you don't want taxpayer dollars funding abortions directly. This bill knocks out the Hyde Amendment domestically and internationally. Now your tax dollars can directly fund an abortion. That's a huge change in policy that doesn't have 50% majority polling in this country. That's also tucked in this bill alongside $50 million worth of family planning, including family planning for adolescents. So they can't go to school, but they can get a Depo-Provera shot and they can be put on the pill. I mean, this is what's in this bill.
So really, this isn't relief at all. This is $1.1 trillion in paying off our friends and all of this. Wasn't there? There's also like the bridge to nowhere. There's $1 million payment to a bridge.
So it's not the bridge to nowhere. Thankfully, this time it's from Canada to New York, but it's a payoff for Senate Leader Chuck Schumer in his district. Then Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, she's got her own earmark, over $100 million. That kicks off a $7 billion extension of the BART, the rail system between her hometown of San Francisco and San Jose, right in Silicon Valley, again, using our tax dollars to ease the commute of Silicon Valley business owners who are billionaires on our dime. This bill is loaded with instances just like this. Look, the arts, everybody last time got all upset about the Kennedy Center a year ago on a $25 million earmark for their payroll. This is a private charity dialed into the COVID relief. They got their $25 million because they said they were going to run out of money. 2 days later, they furloughed most of their workforce. In this bill, there's 20 times the amount of money to the arts. $470 million to 3 arts agencies, which doubles the budget of all 3 of these art agencies, including the National Endowment of the Arts and Humanities.
Again, this just makes my blood boil sitting here when you look at all of this just fat. And we had talked about the Kennedy Center a couple of weeks ago. You guys can go to our Facebook page, scroll down. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about the craziness at the Kennedy Center. What is the endowment at the Kennedy Center? They have a big endowment, don't they?
They've got a net worth of over $500 million. They took $80 million from Congress in 2020 when they said they were going to, quote unquote, run out of money. And we found they grew their net assets. They didn't go backwards. They didn't dip into their reserves. They actually have more money now than before the pandemic started.
Yep. No, it's exactly. I mean, really, people are going nuts right now online. I can see the comments coming in like crazy. And we appreciate you guys. You have to. You have got to go online. You've got to sign up with Open the Books. You've got to get our newsletter. Please share this broadcast on your Facebook page and invite 5 people you know to like us and start paying attention. We have got to let our legislators know this is beyond now unacceptable. I think the public, Adam, is wearing thin on the pseudo COVID,
bailouts.
Spending.
Let's talk about higher education. That was also a big buzz a year ago on the CARES Act. Higher ed and the CARES Act got about $13 billion, and people went crazy a year ago. There's $40 billion stuffed into this bill. 3 times the amount from the CARES Act. Through all the coronavirus relief bailout bills of 2020, including that big one launched in December, higher ed got $35 billion last year. In one fell swoop, in this bill, Democrats are trying to shove $40 billion over to higher ed.
And is that going to specific schools? Because what we found last year is it wasn't going to everybody. It was going to some very specific targets.
Well, there are specific targets in this, like Howard University gets $35 million, but most of it is going to be done on an allocation basis. So like in the CARES Act, which was 3 times smaller, we found that the top 25 colleges and universities with the largest endowments, collectively, they had $300 billion in their endowments. They stood to reap $1 billion of quote unquote coronavirus relief
fund.
Goodness. They didn't need the money. This bill's 3 times larger. They could get 3 times as much money, and they don't need our money. They can't make the argument they need our money, but they do want our money.
Now, Adam, I want to make sure there was some breaking news this afternoon, a couple hours ago before we came on, that the GOP had recommended, I believe, 286 different amendments to try to remove most of this. Only 2 of those amendments were accepted, is my understanding. What does that mean in English for
That
our
means that
audience?
this is not a bipartisan bill. There is no unity here. These are
Mhm.
Biden bucks drafted by Nancy Pelosi, and it looks like they're going to try to use political power to make us all pay for it.
It's unbelievable. I don't even know. We've gone through all of our questions, but I just feel like we've barely scratched the surface on this bill. I think it is. This is what, the third coronavirus bill? Is that correct? In the last year?
I think this is number 5. I think you can very easily
Number
get to
five.
number 5 of the coronavirus bailout bills at a moment where the numbers are moving in the right direction, and the vaccine effect, the effect of the vaccine, it looks like the pandemic here in America is on the wane.
Exactly. So, again, Adam, public, what do I have a lot of people I'm watching. What can we do? What more can we do? How do we stop that? I mean, they're going crazy. How do we stop this?
Well, you need to support challengers to the incumbent political class. You need to raise your voice and call your member of Congress, write emails and letters and phone calls. You need to bring the heat so they see the light. Go to openthebooks.com, sign our petition on Read the Bill. We're going to have an announcement very soon next week on Senate legislation off of our petition being dropped in the Senate on a bill that would give a 72-hour timeout after all the changes are made to allow all of us to read it and hold them accountable.
Openthebooks.com, everybody. We could really use your help in moving the dial in our direction. And we will keep you posted on legislation that is going to be dropping next week in the Senate. Really exciting stuff. Adam, any last words before we leave it there until next Thursday?
Well, more donations equal more investigations. Help us out. Just give us $1 a day. It's $30 a month. Set it up on automatic with a credit card, and we'll use all of that to open and audit the books at every level, federal, state, and local. Thank you.
I want to make sure everybody knows Open the Books does not take any money from the federal government. No COVID relief going to Open the Books. It is straight funded by you guys, by we the people, I guess is the best way to say it. And we could use the people's help right now to make sure that we are elevating our voices and pushing Open the Books. So share this page with your friends, share it on your Facebook page, and we will see you next Thursday at 5:30 Eastern. See you then.